Well, good evening. Hello. Welcome to the Buddhist Society's basic meditation class this Thursday evening. I have a sneaking suspicion that most of you have probably been to this class many, many times before. Equally, there may be a few people who have not. So what I'll do is do what I usually do, which is in the first half, I'll try and pass on a few tips about this practice, and then take a little break and I've got a few thoughts to share which you may find useful. And then in the second part, I'll be quieter because you'll all be experts by then. And then at I don't know, 25 to 8, something like that, we can stop and have any discussion or questions or anything at all. So that's kind of the framework for the class. And obviously, if anybody needs to go before then, I quite understand. Thank you for coming in the first place. So this is an introduction to mainly mindfulness meditation. If you're into Buddhism at all, you'll know there are many other sorts of practice, but at the heart of it is this inactivity called mindfulness. And what mindfulness to me means is all about is just noticing what's going on in the mind. Yeah, noticing that's not a bad idea. It's just noticing what comes into the mind. And of course, that's how we experience the world. It all comes in through the mind. It's like sounds and sensations in the body and all the rest of it. It's like it happens because there is real stuff out there. There's I'm sort of half looking through my window right now, and I can see little trees blowing around and curtains, and I think I can hear some sounds in the house, and I can certainly feel my body sitting here. But I mean, it's like there are those objective things out there, and then I've got sense organs full on here, like eyes and ears and all the rest of it. But what's coming through to me is mental stuff, and it's well known that nobody experiences exactly the same object in the same way, exactly the same way. We're all different. And these sorts of games that people play, they show a color up on the screen, and some people will say it's blue and some people will say it's green. We all interpret sense data differently. And in mindfulness meditation, what we're doing is just taking note of that, just noticing that, being aware of it. Awareness is a good name. We're just being aware of what comes into the mind, and that's all. And usually, in ordinary everyday life, that isn't just all we do. I was going to say make a big deal of it. We don't, but we sort of interpret it in particular ways. We give it names, we react to it, think about it, decide to do things about it or not. And in mindfulness practice, it's all about just being aware of it, noticing it full stop, and learning to let go of it. And every time I'm sitting here teaching or trying to teach, I'd like to emphasize it's the letting go of it that's as important as the noticing. It's just not, and part of that is just therapeutic. It's really great to let go of stuff that's bugging us, right? Yeah, it's a good thing to do. That's called getting peace of mind. So there's that aspect of it, but there's also, if you like, the spiritual side of it. So if you know a bit about Buddhism, you'll know that attaching to things is a source of great dukkha. Attachment is a no-no in Buddhism. And so it's like that ability just to, yeah, sure, this is the story, but to let go of it is the core, is the essence of this, for me, is the essence of this practice of mindfulness. And so, we'll do a bit of training in that. That sounds a bit pretentious. But that's the name of the first half of this session, perhaps. So, alert, relaxed posture. Everybody has to figure out what an alert, relaxed posture is. You could be lying down, and you certainly can be mindful when you're in bed at night. But you're likely to be more alert if we're sitting upright. So I suggest we sit upright. And we don't have to do it on the floor. Sit on a chair or whatever. An alert posture, an upright posture. And the upright thing is because this is, we're dancing on a sort of a tightrope. On one side, we're getting too tense because we're trying too hard. On the other side, we sort of nod off. It is quite good, I say, an upright posture, because then we can detect what's going on in the body. Particularly, we can detect any sort of slumping, can't we? Because although mindfulness is quite a peaceful practice, or it can be quite a peaceful practice, it's not going to sleep. You don't have to log on at 6:30 on a Thursday to go to sleep. You don't have to. So an alert, relaxed posture. Alert posture, yeah, but then a relaxed posture as well. And that's a real, that's a real art, isn't it? Setting ourselves up so we're relaxed but alert at the same time. So just take a moment or two working with those two words: alert, upright, relaxed. And a good thing to do is just bring attention to the body and experience the body in terms of sensations, right? In terms of physical sensations. How does it feel? Do we feel relaxed or not? And I have no problem with people who, like to sit in meditation just to relax. I mean, it is just to relax. There's more to meditation than relaxation. But if you come into this meditation, all kind of tense and uptight and having had a terrible time and fearing that tomorrow is going to be even worse than today, and at the end of it, you don't feel so god-awful because you've relaxed, that's brilliant, isn't it? That's absolutely brilliant. And maybe along the way, you got a bit of insight as well. Well, that's just icing on the cake. So an upright posture. But also comfortable, relaxed, stable posture. Not a lot to see except that nice Buddha image. I suggest closing the eyes, or just half closing the eyes. And I'm just trying to turn the attention inwards. As I say, ahead of me, actually, there's a bit of crack in the curtains here, and I can see through the window. It's not raining, and the trees blowing around, but I'll park all of that. You just half close the eyes, or completely close the eyes. And how's the body feeling? And that's not quite the same thing as, what's my opinion about the body? In fact, it's quite different, isn't it? It's quite different. How's the body feeling? And you might want to start with a sort of an overall evaluation. I'm feeling quite perky, or a bit tired. If you had a bad night last night, probably feeling a bit tired, a bit heavy. Maybe there's a bit of discomfort. But then trying to just break all these bigger sensations down into different sensations in different parts of the body. The top of the head to the soles of the feet to the top of the head. Now we're getting into meditation practice, actually, because that body scanning, body sweeping can be one's technique, lifetime's technique, actually. Learning to experience the body, not in terms of like labels, or old or young or straight or gay or beautiful or not so beautiful or male, whatever, These are all concepts, but more like, it feels like this. Right now, it feels like, how are the feet feeling? They're touching something. And, wiggle your toes around if you're having some difficulty locating the feet. There they are. There's the feet, probably on the floor. Okay, and bring the attention up the legs. Any major sensations around the knees? If you are sitting on the floor, probably, you can feel a bit of a stretch over the knees. Going on up the body. The hips, how are the hips handling this? They're all right? Or there's a bit of discomfort there? I mean, if there is discomfort, just be aware of it. If there's, pain, I'd change posture. I'd stand up, actually. You can meditate standing up, if that helps. And then we're all sitting on something. So just be aware of the weight of the body sitting on something. And notice we're just sitting to sit. We're not sitting to watch TV or do our emails or have something to eat. When we do that, unless we're sitting in a very uncomfortable posture, a hard chair or something, we just don't notice the feeling of sitting. Just be aware of that. Then bring the attention into the trunk of the body, to the belly. How about the belly? Yeah, I can feel the breath in the belly. Up the body. We're going up, 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 up. Anything in the back at all? There again, it's quite okay to, bit of discomfort. Just try at the start of a period of meditation, wriggle around a bit and then settle down. Up to the shoulders. Now, if there's a lot of tension, and if you want to get rid of it, you don't have to, but if there's a lot of tension, just drop the shoulders. On the out breath, breathe out. Let go. Let go. Notice and let go are the magic words in my mindfulness practice. Up into the head. How about the jaw? Is the jaw clamped shut or not? When you ask that question, if it is tightly clamped because you're a bit angry or something, it's good to notice that. And if you want to relax, nobody's looking, so you can relax if you want to. Any other sensations around the face? Lips are touching, saliva in the mouth, breath on the nostrils, warmth of the room on the skin of the face. Eyelids closed, or if they're half open, notice the feeling of light on the eye. We're getting there's the details of this actually. Ears, any sensations around the ears? Forehead. We're beginning to try a bit too hard. I don't know why we'd be trying hard to do anything very much actually, except just be aware of trying. This is an awareness practice, isn't it? Anything in the scalp at all? And then, you can get into this practice in detail. So from these big sort of sensations, and I've left out some big sensations actually, like the hands, but we're up at the top of the head now. Anything going on at the top of the head? Any sensation there? It's interesting to notice the sensation of no sensation. That's interesting. And then, as I say, just bring the attention in a bit more detail through the body. So the eyes, around the eyes, skin of the face, the breath on the nostrils. That might be the meditation object we're going to use, but let go of it for the moment. Notice the breathing, lips touching, saliva in the mouth, tongue touching the teeth, and the neck, shoulders, arms. About time we got to the arms. Down the arms. Don't often notice the armpits. How they're doing tonight. Notice the touch of our clothing on the arms, around the elbows. Anything there much? Down the forearms, the wrists of the hands, and the hands touching something. We've just parked them, I hope. Maybe one hand on the other. Maybe they're just in a pocket or something like that. The hands are very sensitive, aren't they? There again, there's all sorts of fun things we can experiment with in meditation. You put your attention in the palm of your hand and just let the attention run around the hand and up the fingers. I remember way back, I went to a class in sketching. The first thing they gave us to draw was a very difficult object. It's your hand. You'd start off with a point on the palm of the hand and take it from there, round the hand, round the thumb, up the fingers, one finger at a time. You can do that. And that could be called meditation. Back up the arms again, up to the shoulders. How about the front of the body? How about the collarbone area? When I get very tense or very tired, I slump around that area. And there's a time and a place for that, perhaps. But if we don't want to do that now, if we want to keep the body fairly alert, relax, open up around the collarbone. Bring the attention into the chest. Be aware of the rhythm of the breath and the ribs, the warmth, our clothing touching. Turning the attention right into the heartbeat. Pick that up. One of the things we notice, I think, when we do meditation and things quieten down a bit, is this interplay between the body and mind and how a thought, can trigger off a change in the pulse, change in the heartbeat. Oh, it's just nature, no big deal. Down into the abdomen, the belly, any anxiety there or pressure. Into the pelvis, feeling of sitting, weight of the body, hips, upper legs, around those knees, warmth, calves, shins, Achilles tendons, ankles, soles of the feet, heels, arches, ball of the foot, toes, back of the feet. Do that all evening, up and down the body, experiencing it. There's just a mass of sensations pinging in and out, don't they? They come and they go. If you don't do it, if you just sort of be aware of the body, it's just a mass of sensations. So that's mindfulness of the body. How about the mind, the mood? What's the mood tonight? Some moods are more conducive, I suppose, to practice than others. But the whole point of this Buddhist path is freedom from suffering. So if there's a bit of shadow, a bit of darkness, a bit of anger, just be aware of that, you see. I'm feeling pretty down. What's that like? What's a dull mind like? And you notice with something like dullness or supposing you're feeling a bit angry, don't we direct the attention to anger? It's interesting. It's sort of like, you can sort of maybe move on from that. Notice if there's anything, quote, on our minds, unquote. Notice the way the attention grasps onto stuff that's on our mind. When we notice the attention has wandered and it's grasping onto the future, the past, yesterday, earlier today, or it's figuring out what to do this evening, or thinking about going on holiday, if we're allowed to, whatever, just notice the way the mind locks onto things. And the cool thing is, we have this ability to pay attention to what the attention is doing. It's amazing, isn't it, really? So we paid attention already. We've been mindful of the body. We're mindful of what's going on in the head. That's the practice. That's it. But it's quite good too, because it's a busy, body and mind are sort of busy things, aren't they? There's a lot going on, a lot of sensations in the body, a lot of mental activity. And the trick is to be able to stand back from all of that and just be aware of it. That's quite difficult. So that's why it's quite handy to have a meditation object, a little anchor, a totally non-stimulating anchor that we can always, turn the attention back to if we want to. That's the interesting thing, is if we want to. You've got to want to do it. If you just want to sit here and get lost in thought, that's okay, but it's not quite the idea, which would be to learn to let go, to notice and let go. That's what mindfulness is all about. And something like the feeling of the breath on the nostrils, or a mantra, Buddho, Buddho, Om Mani Padme Hum, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Feeling of the breath, the touch of the mala beads, the rosary beads. It's like a little anchor, isn't it? Yeah. It gives us, if you like, it gives us something more to do. We quite like doing things. Let's talk about the breath, maybe. We'll use that. But there again, I beg you, please, if you've been working with another meditation object or doing just a different form of meditation altogether and you just like to get on and do it, I think that's brilliant. If you're happy with it, keep doing it. But you might want to tune into the feeling of the breath, which is very calming, very peaceful. Just following the breath. Don't try and control it. Amazingly, the body knows how to do it. All we got to do is pay attention, actually. So we notice the breath going in to the nostrils and out through the nostrils. In through the belly, out of the belly. It's a physical sensation. It's not a great mystical experience. It's just being aware of the feeling of breathing. Sometimes the breath is it's quite long. Sometimes it's short, intermediate, it's deep, it's shallow. But it's always there. Sometimes it'll get quite faint, but then it'll pick up again. Each breath has a beginning, a middle, and end. It's an in-breath. Each out-breath has a beginning, a middle, and end. And you can sort of tune into that a bit. You can refine it if we want to. Not in the way of concentrate, you concentrate on the breath. I've got to struggle to make sure I pick up the beginning of this in-breath. It's more like letting go of anything else. And you see, because the breath is really calming when you get into it, really peaceful, you get blissed out on the feeling of the breath. But on the other hand, it's not stimulating. It's not interesting or exciting in any conventional sense. And so all sorts of other stuff will come into consciousness. And that's just our nature. We're human beings tonight, people. And we'll hear, see, smell, taste, touch, and think stuff. And as meditators, all we do is we're aware of that. And we, unless you really want to hang on, we let go. We let go, and that's what the meditation object, the breath, or the mantra, is for. Deliberately point the attention back to the feeling of the breath. It requires a lot of patience. That's the only sort of effortful thing, is patience to notice what's going on and the intention to let go and redirect the attention back to the breath. So concentration on the breath comes about by learning to let go of everything else. It's not a nailing one's attention to the meditation object. It is a practice of letting go of sights and sounds and smells and thoughts and feelings and emotions. Learning to let go of them and enjoying the feeling of the next in-breath, next out-breath. Just enough effort to sustain the attention on the breath. If if the mind is really scatty tonight, we can just like count along with the breath, on each breath, one, next breath, two, three, up to 10, back to one again. But it's a demanding practice because if we lose count of 2.5 or 8.5 or 9, you got to start from one again. Those are the rules of the game. And that's not to do that. That's just a very good way of paying attention, of being aware of the breath, actually. Being aware of not being aware of the breath. Enjoying the in-breath, relaxing on the out-breath. And if the mind wanders, there's no judgment involved in this. We shouldn't beat ourselves up for being human, actually. You're just aware of, the mind has wandered again. Let go, point the attention back to that lovely meditation object. do take this opportunity to wriggle around, get up, stretch, or just keep sitting. This over the last few days, I've been reading my Shakespeare, and in particular, I've been reading Romeo and Juliet, and in particular, that passage where Juliet says, "What's in a name? What's in a name? That which we call a rose, by any other name would smell as sweet." I'll read that again. What's in a name? That which we call a rose, by any other name would smell as sweet. Whatever we called it, it would be lovely. And she says that because Juliet is a Capulet and Romeo is a Montague, and there's a family feud between the Capulets and the Montagues. And although Juliet's really in love with Romeo because of all his lovely, lovable qualities, he's a Montague. He's a Montague. And that name condemns him in the eyes of her family. So what's in a name? What matters, is the essential Romeo, the qualities of him. Why is he lovable? All that sort of stuff. But the name is neither here nor... All the name does, it's just a label, isn't it? It's a label. And the name of anything is just a label which distinguishes, in this case, Romeo Montague from anybody else. It's just it distinguishes one thing from another. That's all it is. It's like it's a conventional distinguishing mark construction, but it doesn't tell you anything about what it's really, really like, whatever that means. Now, the reason I started reading my Shakespeare was because I started going to some other classes at the Buddhist Society, and there's lots of other good classes going on, by the way. So I found myself, week before last, going to the excellent Introducing Buddhism class, which is on a Monday night. I know it clashes with another excellent Buddhist Society class, which is the Theravada class. But anyway, I went to that introductory class. I recommend it. I mean, if you want a nice introduction to Buddhism, a nice taught introduction to Buddhism, there's that introductory class on a Monday. And I sat in on that. I'm always interested to see, to learn from other people. How do other people, teach a class, that sort of stuff. I've really forgotten what the subject of that class was. That doesn't matter, because the person teaching it was very clear, very lucid. And rather to my surprise, at the end of every class, it's a weekly class, it runs for about 8 weeks, something like that. The teacher said she gives homework, you see. Every week she gives some homework for people to do or not to do. And the homework at the end of the class I sat in on was this. She said, every day for a week, sit down in a chair for 15 minutes and see what happens. Repeat, here it is. Every day for a week, sit down in a chair for 15 minutes and see what happens. And then she says, and she followed it up because somebody in the class asked her, she said, it's not a meditation exercise. It's not a meditation exercise. Every day for a week, sit down in a chair for 15 minutes and just see what happens. It's not a meditation exercise. And at that stage, I sort of woke up a bit, actually, because I've got 2 monk stories to tell you. One I think I've told you before. Back in the day when this Thursday class was face-to-face at the Buddhist Society, I would invite visiting teachers, and I like to do that still, of course. And I invited a Soto Zen monk to come along and teach the class, set us all up, Zen style, facing in a particular way, this, that, and the other. And then he rang a bell, but then he said, just sit. He said, just sit. And it's like, just sit. And it's like everybody's head was buzzing. And what do we do? Just sit. Just sit. That was the advice of a Soto Zen monk. And that reminds me of another monk story, very different tradition, one of the Amaravati monks. And I went in there again. Once upon a time, I used to go into prisons, and I went into prison, and he came into prison with me. I don't think he'd been in before. And we have a meditation class there with about half a dozen guys, a bit of introductory chat, how you doing? And then we said, let's have a meditation session. And I said, over to you, Bante, to lead the class, lead the meditation. And so we all just kind of sat there. And he didn't say anything, you see. And I was sitting there thinking, this is a prison, you know, it's like something is going to happen. There's 6 guys in there, and they're not being told what to do or anything. And I was just waiting for something to happen, and sure enough, kind of it did. Somebody says, excuse me, Gov, what are we supposed to be doing then? And he said, I'm not sure either, which I thought was very interesting. So every day for a week, sit down in the chair for 15 minutes and see what happens. It's not a meditation exercise. And I was kind of like, You see, supposing the teacher of the Monday class said, sit down in the chair for 15 minutes every day for a week and meditate. That's interesting, isn't it? Sit down in the chair for 15 minutes each day for a week and meditate. And it's like, well, that's just a name, isn't it? You know, so I suppose if you said meditate, the implication would probably do, I've got to do something like, you know, I'm on the receiving end of this. I've been told to sit down for 15 minutes every day in a chair and meditate. And it's like, so I've got to sort of sit up straight, special posture, alert, relaxed posture. There's some kind of method out there I've got to master, perhaps, you know, mindfulness of the breath or counting the breath or something. You know, and I've got to try and do that, maybe in order to, you know, really crack this method. I got to do that, you see. And it's like, I don't know about that. Meditation is just a name. And it's very interesting because, you know, it's like the crucial thing in those instructions, given at that introducing Buddhism class, was every day for a week, sit down in a chair for 15 minutes. And see what happens, and see what happens. Now, that's the crucial bit to me as a meditator, and see what happens. Because the see what happens thing, to me, is like, that's open-minded awareness. The essence of meditation practice is awareness. It's just seeing what happens. Maybe seeing what happens with our eyes closed. Sitting here for 15 minutes or for 20 minutes this evening or whatever, and seeing what happens. That's open-minded awareness. That's what awareness is. Just being aware, not attaching, not resisting, you know, not trying to attain anything or grasp anything or master anything. You know, it's like stuff comes into the mind, aware of it, let go of it. That's it. That's awareness. That's the essence of mindfulness meditation. Just that bare attention, that awareness. Now, maybe we need things like posture and techniques and methods and a meditation object just to learn how to be simply aware of things. You know, maybe the sort of hints I gave a little bit earlier on are just skillful means in order just to be aware, just to notice, that's all, just to see what happens. And of course, this practice of just seeing what happens, of just being aware, oh, it's like this, you know, it's something we don't even have to sit down to do. We can obviously do it. Well, we can do it. You don't have to do it at the virtual Buddhist Society or where you are right now. We can do it on the bus, in the train, when we're standing up waiting for something, when we're walking around. You know, that's it. We can just be aware of that coming into the mind, these sensations coming and going into and that is exactly what the Buddha encouraged his monks and his nuns. It was like he talks about developing mindfulness in all 4 postures. You know, sitting, walking, standing, lying down, and everything in between. He's quite specific about this. The Buddha says, you know, you wake up in the morning, you're aware of waking up in the morning. You get up, you wash your face, you go to the loo, you're aware of that. You know, you're aware of putting on your clothes. You're aware of walking around. You're aware of eating. That's it. This is open-minded awareness. That's the essence of this practice. Now, maybe techniques and skills and postures are needed to get there. Maybe they're just skillful means. And maybe when the teacher said for a week, every day for a week, sit down in a chair for 15 minutes and see what happens, and then she said, it's not a meditation exercise, maybe she was being extremely clever indeed, because really it was. So now, for the next 20 minutes, you know what we're going to do. Just sit there and see what happens. Or, if that seems a little bit, if you need a bit of help, some skillful means, as it were, right? Then there's issues around posture and technique and all the rest of it, which might help, actually, which might help. But the essence of this practice is just open-minded, non-attached, non-grasping awareness. That's the essence of it. Let's do it. Sit down where you are. Compose the body. Close the eyes, perhaps, if that helps. Be aware of sensations, if that helps. Yeah, there's the breath there, or the sound of silence. Relax, don't attach, don't push away. Just see what happens. So, what I'd like is if Wangdu could maybe unmute everybody. We could have some questions, discussion, either speak or send through a chat. And if you're a bit shy and you prefer to, if you, I think this is being recorded, that's what I'm trying to say. So if you want to keep your mics off or keep your cameras off, that's just fine. But otherwise, please go ahead. Oh, before, so as I say, could we have, gallery, aha, got it. I've got the great gallery view here. That's very good. Some information, first of all. Buddha Day. The Buddhist Society is celebrating Buddha Day this Saturday. For details, please look at their website. But usually there's a mixture of talks, a bit of meditation, I don't know what else, but the website will tell you something about it. And I think it's both morning and afternoon. And Buddha Day, in all the most of the Buddhist countries celebrate Buddha Day about this time of year, and it celebrates the birth, enlightenment, and passing away of the Buddha all in one day. So Buddhists are very economical in that regard. So all in one day. That's Buddha Day. And you're very welcome to go to that. The other thing I wanted to say something about, just for information. I mean, I said earlier on that I'd been sitting in briefly at other classes, and there's a lot of great stuff going on at the Buddhist Society. For example, there are other meditation classes. There is one on a Monday lunchtime. There is one on a Friday lunchtime. There's one on a Sunday morning. And all of these are shorter classes. I mean, this is whatever it is, an hour and a half, I guess. They tend to be 40 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. And do go. I'm not saying go instead of this one, go as well as this one. No, just go and explore, because it's always interesting it's interesting to meditate. And if you like meditating in a group, do go along. And it's always good to hear other people's take on meditation. So that's to repeat. There again, you can go on the website and see all of this stuff. But Monday and Friday lunchtimes, and Sunday in the morning. And then now, questions, discussion, whatever. Either I'll try and handle them now, or if you would like me to feed something through to Ajahn Subhaddo, who will be at the class next week, please do. And I repeat what I said at the beginning, that he really enjoys, it's like, in a way, I think we all do. It's nice to have a theme or something to talk about. He likes to do this at the beginning of the class. So please feel free to suggest something either for me or for him, or you can have some real fun. You can ask me and ask him. That would be quite interesting. So please go ahead, unmute if you want to, or send a chat through.
Hi, I'm fairly new in terms of meditating, and I've been using meditating as a way to deal with stress and anxiety. So I've been meditating usually 5-minute increments.
Yeah.
I don't know whether is there a limit of maybe doing too much meditating, if that makes sense? Maybe you become too much reliant on it. Because I've noticed the amount I meditate, usually the more stressed I am, the more I meditate to try and not be stressed.
Yeah, good question. Can you meditate too much? That's the first thing. Look, it's like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it, I suppose. But common sense here. You don't look like a monastic, and I don't look like a monastic. So it's like we've got other commitments, haven't we? We've all got other commitments. That's the first thing. And good Buddhists take care of their other commitments. It's as simple as that. If other people depend on us, we should. That's our responsibility. I mean, I always say this. I mean, you got the monastics out there. They get up at some unearthly hour in the morning and they meditate and this, that, and the other, and have one meal a day, and there's no sex or drugs or rock and roll and all the rest of it. And they're doing this the easy way. Okay, we're doing it the hard way. Just remember that, because the whole of the sort of the monastic scene is set up for them to realize full and complete enlightenment in the shortest possible time. That's what it's all there for, you see. But we're trying to realize full and complete enlightenment the most difficult way possible, which is as lay people. Okay, so you have to bear that in mind. And it's a question of integrity and honesty. You and I want to do our meditation practice, right? But you and I also have other responsibilities. And when it comes to meditation, it's so easy to say, oh, I can't afford the time to do that because I've got to go and feed the cat. I see a cat. Got to go and feed the cat, or I've got to do this email, or feed me, or something like that. And it's a balancing act. I mean, by the way, this is significant. Here's something quite interesting about time management and all that. You know, it's like you and I've got to meditate. You've got to meditate. Okay. How about if you said, you and we've got to spend 15 minutes, you know, just seeing what happens. It's got a different flavour to it, hasn't it? Really, just sit down and see what happens. And to me, that you know, if I say go to meditate, you know, it's like a contradiction in terms. I'm getting tense already. I've got to do this thing called meditation. But if I just sit down and see what happens, get a bit lazy, really. But that's meditation. You know, that's it. It's an open-minded awareness, isn't it? So you could even try, but there again, you know, it's like there's a real kind of balancing act involved in being sloppy and all the rest of it. But it's like maybe you just need to cast it differently. What's in a name, you see? And the name meditation might be like a chore, but just sitting down, seeing what happens. Okay, you could do that. The other thing you mentioned, you know, you're saying there's a lot of stress and you're doing it to get rid of the stress. I mean, look, I'll level with you. It's good for stress. It really is. But if you're doing it to get rid of stress, that could create more stress. There's all these sort of paradoxes, right? Because it's all about letting go, not getting rid of. You know, you kind of let go. So it's like, yeah, it's not unlikely that if you've got a lot of stress, it's in here, you sit meditation, and it sits in here, and you grab hold of it, and you try and figure it out, and it gets worse, okay? So it's more like, I mean, if that's the case, I would suggest, actually, a good meditation practice would be to focus on the body and to spend the time scanning the body and bringing attention to where you experience stress, not in your head, but in your body, in your shoulders, in your guts, as butterflies in your stomach, and just be aware of that. Notice it, breathe into it, breathe out from it, let go. It's that sort of practice, you know, rather than, because it's like, I mean, we've all been there. So there's a lot of stress and you're trying to figure everything out, and it's like, it doesn't help. But if anxiety or the stress, you know, it's just at its physical level, that's manageable, isn't it? And it might be called just relaxing, actually. You know, maybe you should just relax. You could call it 15 minutes relaxation. That would make you feel happier. All right. Yeah, Thomas, is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Okay, good. Any more questions? From me, for Barry, for both of us?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Oops. Okay. I find it very, very useful to meditate with a group. I'm really grateful that there are group meditations. But I really struggle with doing this alone. The other issue is I'm attached to the group.
Yes.
And, I just reject being myself. I don't know, but it's so much easier with the group and the guide. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm very grateful that you're getting something out of this, right? That's very good. That's excellent. And keep on coming and go to these other classes as well. Yeah, I'm trying to encourage meditation. So it's like there are other opportunities to meditate in a group. And the only thing you might want to explore is like, well, why is it easier to meditate in a group? I don't know. Sometimes I might. I don't know. I tend to be more of a solitary meditator myself. That sounds a bit silly, sitting here in front of about 30 people on a camera. But I tend to be more of a solitary type. But equally, you know, if on my own, I'm doing it on my own terms, aren't I? You know, it's like, you're lucky because, I mean, you don't have to look at your watches, you see, because I'm sitting here. I mean, I'd much rather just sit here with my eyes closed and not have to keep an eye on the clock, you see. But you don't have to worry about that because, you know, I've got a clock and I've got a bell and it's my responsibility to do it. But if I was on my own, you see, I could just pick and choose when I want to do it. I think, oh, I want to stop after, I want to stop after 10 minutes. I've had enough of that. I'm getting stressed out. Or I've suddenly remembered this email I've got to do. Or I'll die if I don't get a sandwich, So I just call the shots, you see. I mean, that's the other thing about the monastic scene. I mean, it's all, you can't get a sandwich. You can't get a sandwich in the afternoon. It's not allowed. You get chucked out. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, you don't do that. That's the whole point. It's working with constraints, isn't it? It's this business about sitting down and seeing what happens and seeing these impulses and urges. The feeling is I've had enough. I've got to do. That's this bit for me. It's this busyness thing, to tell you the truth. It really is. I've got a lot of other things to do. I should be doing it. So it's like, and I can get away with that on my own. You can get away with it on your own, you see. But sitting in a group, I mean, look, by the way, I'll level with you. If we were live in the Buddhist Society, it's much more difficult to get up and creep out of the room and go home. Like we're here, I don't want you, it's like you can just leave this room and nobody knows. You can zoom away and get yourself a sandwich or do those emails, you see. But we can maintain the fiction that this is a group and there's a certain amount of discipline in this group, you see. So maybe that's, but I mean, as I say, I think it's brilliant that I actually think it's brilliant that people like coming to this meditation class or other meditation classes. It's great. It's a wonderful facility. And for people who prefer sitting in a group, practicing in a group, it's good. Do it. Okay? Don't change your ways. Keep up the good work, the good group work. Any other questions or comments? I haven't had anything to Barry yet, Ajahn Barry. Any ideas for Ajahn Barry?
Good evening, Colin. This is Yasha.
Hi, Yasha.
How are you? What a nice evening again. Most enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to be with you. I wanted to ask you, or Barry for that matter, on the images of the Buddha.
Yeah.
The image we were watching during the meditation, I presume, is Buddha Shakyamuni. And if it is, am I right in recognizing him because of the special headgear and special positioning of his hands? And but let me just finish the question, sorry. I wanted to know whether there are finite number of Buddhas in Buddhism, and are they all recognizable and identified, or are we got sort of a few loose Buddhas that we don't know anything about who are still running around?
Okay. You have a knack of asking really difficult questions. Okay, look. First of all, what's the Buddha image you've been looking at? It is either Indian or Burmese, right? And it's of the historic Buddha, the Sakyamuni Buddha. Yeah, Gautama Buddha. Yes, it is. And in terms of, I've really forgotten what the posture is, but there are many other different gestures, right? Over my shoulder, well, there are meditating Buddhas, there are teaching Buddhas, there are ones doing fancy mudras, and this, that, and the other, right? So there are many different, even for like a, Siddhartha Gautama, the historic Buddha, there are many different representations of the Buddha. And by the way, images of the Buddha came quite late on, actually. I mean, in the early on, there were no images of the Buddha at all, actually. And he'd be represented either by a wheel or by a footprint, a footstep. And then somebody had the idea of making a Buddha image. And there are many different styles and so on of representing the historic Buddha. Are there other Buddhas around? Oh man, really? Okay. You're taking me out of my comfort zone again. I mean, in different Buddhist traditions, there are, first of all, historically, yes, in all the different Buddhist traditions, historically, there have been many other Buddhas, and there will be many Buddhas yet to come. Yes, there are, right? There's no doubt about that. So, Buddhists think in eons of time, eons of time. And the historic Buddha is just the most recent one, just a mere 2,500 years ago. That's nothing in terms of Buddhist time. So there are many other Buddhas. A Buddha, by the way, is not just common or garden enlightened being. A Buddha is somebody, a being who appears in the world when the Dharma has died out. So he, the Buddha, the historic Buddha, was somebody who, the formula is rediscovered an ancient path. Right? It's a rediscovery. The Buddha rediscovers an ancient path and teaches it. That's what a Buddha does do. And there are many been supposed to have been many previous Buddhas, and there will be other Buddhas to come. Now, in other Buddhist, and that what I've just said, I think, is common to all the different Buddhist traditions. In Mahayana Buddhism, there are bodhisattva figures. They're sort of savior figures, and they are fully enlightened beings who postpone, who keep on coming back for more, who keep on coming back in order to ease the suffering, teach the Dhamma to all other sentient beings. So there's a bodhisattva vow, which says, however long it takes, as long as there are suffering beings out there, I'll keep on being reborn, for their benefit. And the difference between a bodhisattva being and they might call it a Buddha is one which somebody in the Mahayana, one of the Mahayana traditions, might be able to explain. But they might, you might view them as being manifestations or aspects of the Buddha. That's another way of looking at it. So actually behind me now, I've got a little shrine. You can probably see bits and pieces on the shrine. But over this shoulder, there is a Tibetan figure which has got 4 arms, and that's a bodhisattva of compassion. And so what? I mean, there are many. So even for images of the historic Buddha, there are many different representations, including standing figures, for example, and images which have been influenced by the Greeks and all the rest of it. And because Buddhism has spread all over East and South Asia, when Buddhism, turns up in China or Tibet, there'll be a different representation of the Buddha. Yeah, I'll try and run this past Barry next time, because actually he might be interesting because he is he also trained extensively in the Zen tradition. Now he might have something to say about that. Except Zen is very clean cut, and I'm not sure whether they go for Buddha images that much. That would be a good thing that's a good reason to ask him about this, actually. But from our point of view, it's more like what are Buddha images for, you see. I really like Buddha images. I mean, I like Buddha images because they're kind of inspiring. It's as simple as that. When you look at a Buddha image, essentially you're looking at something that looks like a human being, right? Which is representing enlightenment. It's kind of inspiring. It's sort of like, you can do this too, kind of thing. Actually, there's one in I've got a copy in my prison, and there's one in the Buddhist Society, and it's a Buddha image that a lot of people don't like at all, because it looks like a Westerner. The Buddha image on the screen there, or the ones behind me, they look really exotic and Asian, But this one that was commissioned a long time ago, it just looks like a Westerner. Admittedly, it's sort of a Japanese style. So he's got robes on and all the rest of it, and the little top knot thing as well. And facially, he looks like a Westerner, and people think, oh, that's not very nice. I think it's absolutely brilliant, actually, because it's like there's somebody who looks like you and me who's enlightened, and that strikes me as being great, particularly in a prison context. There's an ordinary bloke who just happens to be enlightened. That's quite inspirational, actually. Well, there you go.
Thank you. Is there any significance to the reclining Buddha?
Yeah, it represents the Buddha when he was dying. So he lay down on his right side, rested his head on his right arm, bringing us all back to front here, and passed into nirvana, final nirvana, that way. Yeah, and that's also the classic posture if you're going to meditate lying down. You sleep on your side, you compose yourself, you sleep on your side. Yeah, and actually the Buddha, the reclining Buddha figures, you're reclining and you're supporting your head on your elbow, right? Whenever you've tried that, it's incredibly painful, actually. So you need some sort of cushion under your armpit to support your arm, like that. But the reclining Buddha image, as I say, is the image, the portrayal you'll often see of the Buddha's parinibbana, death, in other words.
Thank you, Colin.
Okay. Any other questions at all?
I just have a small question on the Buddhist Society itself. So also from my part, thank you very much for guiding this encounter. It was very enjoyable to meditate with all of you guys. I only recently found out about the Buddhist Society, and it's the first meeting that I'm joining. And I was wondering whether there will also be this large number of online classes available once the pandemic is over, or whether kind of everything moves on site then.
Well, first of all, I don't know for sure, but secondly, I have a strong impression that it's going to be, what's the buzzword, hybrid or blended or something. I think that would be the idea. As I say, my only involvement in the Buddhist Society is on a Thursday evening, but I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I suspect nobody knows, to be absolutely true. Nobody knows what I suspect during the summer we're going to continue exactly like this. By then, people, I mean, not just me, but other people, even Boris Johnson, will have a clearer idea of where things are shaping up. And probably, if all goes well, probably the Buddhist Society and other organizations will be able to have, group meetings. But I think this has been, in a way, so successful that they'll try and keep online going as well. And they'll figure that out. I am amazed how successful this has been. I mean, it's not the same as face-to-face teaching. It really isn't. But when I went to this Introducing Buddhism class on a Monday evening, there were something like 110, 120 people there. They could not get into that number could not get into the Buddhist Society, quite apart from the fact that some of them were all over the world, right? So this has been, I think, hugely successful. I think it's hugely successful. And I'm sure the Buddhist Society, will, I can't say I'm sure. I very much hope that the Buddhist Society will continue with a blended, with blended or hybrid classes. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Watch this space. Okay. Any other questions? Well, if not, thank you for coming. And you know what the homework is between now and next week, don't you? Just every day, you got to sit down on a chair for 15 minutes, give or take, and see what happens. That's the homework. And that, I think, is advanced meditation, actually. I really do. You see? Sit down and see what happens. And you're getting back to this business of discipline as well, because it's like you can sit down, and I've got a laptop here. So it's like, I could, do that, right? Or you don't take a sandwich with you, right? Just sit down and see what happens, including, you see, what you're seeing is this impulse that's going on to get a sandwich, to, grab your iPhone and see what's going on in the world, do an email or two. You just watch that impulse. That's the thing about seeing what happens, but just leaving it there. You sit down on a chair for a minimum of 15 minutes, right? And just see what happens. There you go, that's homework. And I'll see you next week, because I know Barry's coming. I want to be here as well, okay? So be good, take care, stay safe. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Thank you, everybody.
What's the difference between? Sorry, I've just picked up a thingy, a chat. What's the difference between awareness and witnessing? Depends what you mean by witnessing. I think it's probably exactly the same. Right? This is from June. What's the difference between awareness and witnessing? You know, it's like it's like you know, when you sort of think of witnessing, actually, you think of seeing. I was a witness at the scene of the accident, right? Well, yeah. Or you know, I don't know. Yeah. So, but if you mean mentally witnessing, well, the same thing. It's just being aware. Just being aware. So I think I usually we talk about awareness. We might think of witnessing in terms of observing, acknowledging, you know. And once again, I've got another message coming through from the Buddhist Society, which says, I've said this before, folks, Buddha Day is on Saturday. There you go. They're all right, higher powers. Buddha Day is on Saturday. Okay, I think it's time to go. Take care. Good night.